What's up, Wizards? Welcome to MTGAlchemy. I'm your host, Coy Cook.
And I'm Cody Campbell.
Today, we're going to be going over Codys Deck tech that he's going to be playing in the next episode of Wizard Wars coming up. Alright, so today we're getting into Codys Deck tech, but before that, I want to shout out to all of our patrons. You guys are the reason that we can keep the lights on. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support our channel, visit patreon.com/MTGAlchemy. And from there, you can choose different tiers and do different things that you guys want to do and support us in a lot of different ways. Once we reach 100 patrons, we will be giving away 3 MTGAlchemy playmats. Now, once we hit 50 patrons, you guys will be able to vote on the artwork that will be on those playmats. Also, we are going to be starting our new YouTube giveaway. So the last time we did this, our goal was 100 subscribers, and the winner, Base Mana, he actually got a Cavern of Souls and some other really good cards out of his Ultimate Masters packs that he won from our channel. So that's pretty cool. So this time, once we get to 500 subscribers, we are going to send out 1 box of Magic cards to 1 lucky winner from YouTube. So all you have to do to enter into that is to like, subscribe, and leave us a comment. Leaving us a comment is very important. That's how we kind of have our point of reference. And we're going to put you guys into a randomized number generator on YouTube or on the internet. And that'll tell us which one of you guys is going to win that box of Magic cards. Now, on Patreon, all of our patrons are going to vote on which box of Magic cards that lucky winner will actually be receiving. So that's not up to us. That's up to all of you, our patrons. Just more value. We want you guys to be as involved with our channel as you possibly can be. Getting into Codys Deck tech. So first of all, what are we playing with?
So what I'm playing with is a life gain deck, and it revolves around Oloro Ageless Ascetic as my commander. Oloro Ageless Ascetic is a legendary creature giant soldier. He is a 6-drop 4/5. At the beginning of my upkeep, I gain 2 life if he is in the command zone. Once he is on the field, whenever I gain life, I may pay 1 colorless mana, and if I do, I get to draw a card, and each opponent loses 1 life.
So you're gaining a bunch of life. You're trying to what? What's your deck trying to accomplish?
Basically, what my deck is trying to accomplish is me gaining life and then using that life to take life from my opponents.
So you're paying life to inflict damage upon others.
But yeah, basically, I'm not so worried about using creatures to attack with, but rather using their abilities to drain that life as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with some of the different parts in your deck. Let's start with the removal package, because obviously if you're using creatures and their abilities, then you don't want them dying, but you don't, in other words, you don't want to block with them.
Right.
So what are you using for removal?
So different spells that I'm using for removal will be stuff like Toxic Deluge that gets around indestructibility because it negs them out.
And that's just another spell that you pay life.
Yeah,
right?
so I actually have to pay life, and then it deals X -1/-1 to each creature on the board. That's
awesome.
Right.
That's awesome. I love synergy based decks where they rely on one thing, and once once your opponents figure out exactly what you're relying on, it's too late. They can't.
Well, luckily, there's a lot of different spells on the deck that you don't really know. What am I relying on exactly?
Right. It's kind of.
They see that I'm gaining life, but they don't know why I'm gaining the life.
Right. Yeah. They don't know which purpose it's going to ultimately serve.
Exactly.
Right.
So spells like Toxic Deluge, Supreme Verdict, Decree of Pain. If I can't board wipe them, I've got spells like Washout to return a specific color of everything on the board back to their owner's hands.
Washout's really cool. I've got that in one of my decks as well.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the creatures. We talked about that for a second. So let's get to that. What kind of creatures you got in here?
I'm using stuff like Avacyn, Angel of Hope. Drop that down. Just give everything indestructible.
Okay, so I guess we're talking about power creatures.
Yeah, power creatures, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So if I drop that down and I'm doing all these board wipes, I don't have to worry about my stuff leaving the battlefield.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So that
Avacet, because it gives them all indestructible, and she's got indestructible.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, using stuff like... So since I don't have very many creatures, I can use spells like Elesh Norn to buff my creatures and take power away from my opponent's creatures as well.
She is one... I love playing with Elesh Norn, but
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate seeing it on the other side of the battle.
Right, yeah. You see that come down, and you're like, oh no, I've got these low drop creatures in my hand, but I can't play them because as soon as they hit the battlefield, they're just going to die.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yeah, you can't. Lana Werewolves, I can't play that because it's just dead.
It just enters the battlefield and then leaves the battlefield. It's like, what's the point of even playing that? So
That's
another key creature I like to use is Erebos, God of the Dead. I know he doesn't start out as a creature, but he prevents my opponents from gaining life as well. So if I've got somebody else who likes to gain life in their deck, I can stop that.
So he prevents your opponents from gaining life, but not you.
Correct, yes. He allows me to gain life and keeps my opponents from gaining life. And he's got a nice ability. I can actually use my life to draw cards. So I can pay 1 colorless and 1 black, pay 2 life, and then I can draw a card.
See, just more life synergy. I love decks that revolve around one type of synergy, but do multiple things.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Jin Gataxian, Core Augur. That one's really nice because it decreases my opponent's hand by 7.
I am very familiar.
Yes.
I hate that card on the other side of the field because now if you don't have something like a Reliquary Tower out,
right,
or Crufix, something that gives you no maximum hand size, you have no hand now.
Exactly.
At the end of your turn, you don't get to play with counter spells. you
Right.
Especially if you're control deck, you're done.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
So if assuming that sticks.
Assuming, yeah, you got to make sure that it actually hangs out on the board for a little while.
Right. So one card that I actually suggested for this deck, me and Cody were talking about it a little bit. I liked the idea of Shea Oldred.
Sheoldred's really good.
You know?
I think so, especially because I don't have a lot of creatures. So if I can get Sheoldred out, I'm causing my opponents to sacrifice creatures.
You kill everything, and then now Shea Oldred's letting you get stuff back, even stuff that you need that were a piece of maybe a win condition.
Absolutely.
Right. You get to get it back onto the battlefield, and that's an incredible ability.
It really is, and leading up into some of my other creatures, that kind of falls right into line with Sheoldred. I actually use the Scarab God, get him out on the field, and whenever I'm causing my opponents to either destroy all their creatures or sacrifice them, I can use Scarab God to bring them back as 4/4s and actually use their abilities against my opponents.
So it sounds like we're getting into the creatures in this deck that actually care about your life total.
Right, yeah, because at the beginning of my upkeep with Scarab God, I can get to Scry X, where X is the total amount of zombies I control. Which really, the zombies part isn't really a part of my deck. It just happens to be that I'm causing my opponents to lose life because I'm taking their creatures from their graveyard and using them against them.
Yeah, and that's horrible when you can get someone else's Avacyn.
Right.
Or if they cause you to mill it out, or for whatever reason Avacyn's in your graveyard. Now you get to go get an Avacyn that's indestructible. You get to go get somebody else's Elesh Norn, somebody else's Shea Oldred, or somebody else's anything.
Anything that's a creature, anyways.
Right, and that's horrible.
Yeah, it's really bad. If I can get it out on the field, I've got a couple low drop creatures in here as well. I use Sarah Ascendant. It's a 1-drop. It's a 1/1. If I have 30 or more life, it gets +5/+5 and flying.
I remember you telling me about this.
Yeah. I've actually played around with testing the deck, and for some reason I've drawn that creature a lot in my opening hand.
Because so with Sarah Ascendant, you start the game. So in Commander, you start the game with 40 life. So this card comes out to 1-drop,
and it's already a
6/6.
6/6, yes.
Yeah, 6/6. It's ridiculous.
I also use Drawn as a Mystery, Cliffhaven Vampire, and Defiant Bloodlord. All 3 of those creatures have abilities, or triggers, I guess you would say, that cause me to gain life, and because I gain that life, it causes my opponents to all lose life as well. So, let's take for instance my commander. At the beginning of my upkeep, if my commander is in the command zone, I will gain 2 life. Now, you have Defiant Bloodlord out. Bloodlord states that whenever I gain life, target opponent loses that much life.
Wow.
Right.
Okay, so now you're triggering just because just because your commander's in the command zone.
And causing me to gain life.
Right. It's almost like Eminence, but not.
But not. Right. Yeah. And then you've got Drawn as a Mystery and Cliffhaven Vampire. Their abilities. Drawn as a Mystery ability states that at the beginning of my upkeep, each opponent loses 1 life and I gain 1 life. So now I'm gaining 3 life on my upkeep, and then I'm causing those other triggers as well, causing my opponents to lose that life, mainly off of Cliffhaven Vampire.
Goodness.
Yeah.
That's a lot going on, and I mean, just with your life total affecting so many aspects already of a potential game, it's kind of, it would be almost hard for a new player even really to kind of keep up.
Right, unless you have key removal spells to take care of those.
Right.
And if I can get them out early, where my opponents may not have those answers right away, they have to dig for them, or if they have to search for them, then that really helps me a lot, which is why I put in Cannonball Console of Allocations.
That's a brutal card.
Right.
That was in the latest standard before it rotated.
Right. So Cannonball Console of Allocation states whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, deals 2 damage to them, and I gain 2 life. So if I have all these other creatures on the field that are having these triggers happen, then it just starts that loop over again.
Right.
Right.
It
punishes them for not playing a creature spell.
I've been wanting to use Cannonball Console of Allocation, Console of Allocation. Excuse me. It's hard to say.
Say that 5 times fast.
I know, right? But yeah, I've been wanting to use him as a commander, like in a Death and Taxes commander. I think
that would be really cool because it punishes you.
Right.
Right.
I love punishment decks.
I like punishment decks too.
I also like buddy decks. If you watch the first podcast relating to the next episode of Wizard Wars, we talk about my deck tech, which is the buddy deck that'll be in this game. And I like buddy decks. I like a few different things, but
yeah.
But anyways, let's talk about the enchantment. So you've got creatures, you've got removal. Now let's get into what are some of the key components to setting up your deck.
Well, I use spells like Authority of the Consuls. That way I can lock down my opponent's creatures, at least whenever they first enter the battlefield. That way it locks up creatures with haste.
Oh, yeah.
Or,
You get red decks like Billy's on the first episode of Wizard Wars. He gets in there with a red deck, and he's just
everything's
trying
got
to swing
haste.
at you. Right.
That was a fun game to watch. Would not be fun to play against, though, I can tell you that much. And then as far as keeping spells in my hand, I use spells like Necropotence. Now that one's kind of weird because it states at the beginning of my upkeep I skip my draw phase.
Right. I'm familiar with this one. Go ahead.
Right, but pay 1 life and I can set aside the top card of my library, and it removes it from the game. So your opponents can't even deal with these cards, right?
Right. They can't. They remove them from the game. They're basically in exile. They can't do anything to those cards.
They can't touch those cards.
Right.
And what's nice about having that on the field is if somebody tries to get rid of it, you can still, in response, use its ability to remove cards from the top of your deck to gain card advantage.
Right, and no matter what, you're on your next end step, you get those cards back.
Right, because the ability had already happened.
Right.
So I use Reliquary Tower mainly. I don't really have anything else to keep a maximum hand size.
Right.
But I find that using a land instead of an artifact or something ensures that I have a greater chance of keeping a no maximum hand size.
Right, and the synergy behind this card in this specific deck is really cool because you're gaining 2 life every single turn.
Exactly.
And you only have to pay 1 life to get this effect.
Right.
So you could do it all in one lump sum and say, okay, I'm going to pay 50 life to get 50 cards at the end of my turn, or I can do it one at a time. I gained 2 life. It's nothing for me to lose 1.
Exactly.
So I'll just get an extra card at the end of my turn.
And it's funny that you say that about the just paying a certain amount of life. I learned a long time ago not to do that.
Oh?
Yeah, my biggest mistake in learning about that is Walking Ballista, actually.
Oh, I remember Walking Ballista.
Yeah, don't ever remove counters all at once or pay life all at once because your opponents can punish you for it.
Walking Ballista is probably one of my most hated cards in Magic.
That's probably one of my most
It
favorite,
has lost
actually.
me more F&Ms than I care to admit.
I might have been a part of that.
Yeah, you definitely are. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, we're moving on.
Moving on.
Now, when I first built this deck, I found that people started holding back counter spells. So this was becoming a problem to me. I got online and did some research, and I found a perfect land called Besiege, who shelters all. Okay.
I'm familiar.
It comes in tapped, and then whenever you are able to use its ability, you pay 1 and you tap it, and you pay 2 life. If you use this land to play an instant or sorcery, it cannot be countered.
Can't be countered. That is a huge deal.
That's a big deal.
And
especially when I'm playing
game.
something like Death to Deathless, where
Right.
I pay X, and then each opponent loses 2 times X life, and then I gain the total amount of life lost this way. So now I'm taking all this life from my opponents, and then I am just absorbing all of that life.
And that's just awful.
Right. But
Yeah.
but what do you do if one person somehow manages to keep above that? If I can get down to me and one other person, and I've ensured that I've gained more than 50 life, I put out Aetherflux Reservoir.
You're a terrible person.
That's really terrible. You know,
You're a terrible person.
it's a great card in Storm.
Because you start the game with 40 life again.
Right. So it doesn't take me a whole lot to get to 50.
So now all you got to do is get to 51.
I just have to get to 51.
And you can just kill someone.
As long as it resolves and hits the field, as soon as it resolves, I can pay the 50 life and deal 50 damage to a target player or creature, actually.
And just so we're clear, this is a lot more effective than spells like Door to Nothingness.
Right.
Or anything like that. This spell is what, a 4-drop?
It's a 4-drop colorless artifact.
4-drop colorless artifact. Comes out turn 4, right? So you've already gained 8 life. You're only 2 turns away from gaining 4 more to be able to protect yourself from this detrimental effect.
Right.
To somebody else's game, but so you get 2 more turns, and then that's assuming that you haven't gained enough life already to just kill someone.
To just kill someone.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
But you
ridiculous.
do have to be careful with that, right? Because I'm taking 50 life away from myself.
That's
so
true.
I have to be mindful of who's left on the field, what kind of board presence they have, and what I think that they can do to me.
And what kind of deck are they playing with?
Exactly.
Because, so for instance, you can get into stuff like Comeuppance or Deflecting Palm. So
Yeah, that would be really bad.
Yeah,
that'd
so-
be really bad because now I'm
now you're paying
sacrificing
50 life,
50 life, and it's being dealt right back to me.
and now I'm going to deal that damage to you, so you just took 100 life, and now you're dead.
And more than likely, I'm dead.
And-
because let's face it, I'm playing a life gain deck. People are going to be coming after me.
Right. And now it's a horrible way to lose the game, because now you just lost and it's your fault.
And it's my fault. Yep. I got a little rambunctious. And,
Right. Oh, I'm just going to kill you. Nope.
Yep. Nope. You got to watch those control players. They will get you.
So we've talked about Death to the Deathless. We've talked about Aetherflux Reservoir. What else do you have in the win condition slot that's just awful?
Well, it's only awful if I can get it out, right?
Right.
But I use 2 pieces, and if I can get it out and cause a trigger, it ends the game permanently if you cannot respond to it. And it's 2 enchantments. One is Sanguine Bond and Exquisite Blood. That's the other one. So one states, if an opponent would lose life, I gain that much life.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one states, when I gain life, target opponent loses that much life.
So now you're in a loop.
Now I'm in an infinite loop, and I target one player. And as long as the board has no response, or they can't stop it before it happens, it bounces the life gain and the life loss off of each other, targeting one opponent until that opponent dies. And then because that opponent reaches 0 or less, he still loses that life, whether it's 1 or more, and then it bounces back and I gain the life. Because I gain the life, it rebounces to the next player who's still alive. And it just goes around the table until everybody's dead.
And that's like, so you put that on the field with Aetherflux Reservoir, or you play Debt to Deathless, and then everybody lost it at the same time, which is triggering those two things separately for each opponent.
Correct.
Yeah, that's horrible.
That's really bad. Right.
Yeah, you're a terrible person. And I have to play against this. If you guys liked today's episode and you liked the deck tech that we did today, make sure you guys check out the tapped out link below in the description. It will show you all the cards that we didn't get to today, so that way you guys can leave us comments and see what you guys think, what you like and didn't like about the deck. Question of the day.
Alright guys, so as Patreons, what kind of benefits would you like to have? Let us know in the comments below, and we will join in on the conversation to get you guys the best benefits as possible.
Absolutely. As always, guys, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time on MTG Alchemy.
Benefits would you like to have
Okay,
Start over.
See, we talk about today, and I got to start over.
You can't just say, okay.